Hello, welcome to this podcast series, Lifelong Learning with Dee. I am your podcast host, Dee, a UK-based Transformational and Mindset Coach, and I help people with personal growth and development as well as career change. So in today's episode, I am joined by Catherine Wong, who is a mindset coach based in Australia. We will start today's program with her talking about this, finding your why. And without saying too much about it at this stage, you will find out what this is all about very shortly. And then she and I will have a chat on some of the themes that have come up from our last conversation. So the context is that we had an initial chat on this back in April, and it was a full-on 4.5 hours chat. And we thought that if we had that conversation recorded back then, it's going to be a good episode. So therefore, we decided to have our conversation recorded this time. And I have no idea where this conversation will go. So it's unscripted and it's going to be fun. So before I start today's episode, I just want to quickly mention about this coaching program, which I'm running at the moment. It's called The Unique You. It's a 7-week program with the aim of helping you to achieve your highest potential. And in this coaching program, I will help you to explore your strengths, values, and your life purpose by using various techniques and tools. All the video calls will be done virtually. I am based in West Midlands, England, so if some of you are open to meeting up in person at some point, I am open to it as well, and I may organize a trip. Who knows? So if you're interested in knowing more, please do get in touch with me. You can either DM me on Instagram at powerwithincoaching or drop me an email at powerwithincoaching@outlook.com. In addition to this, I am also very keen on building a community of like-minded people who share the similar life purpose. My life purpose is to serve, to lead, to influence, to connect, and to co-create. And this podcast series, Lifelong Learning with Dee, is a great platform for you to share your story with the aim of making positive impact on this world. So if you have a story to share, whether it's on personal development or your spiritual journey, you know where to find me and we can have a chat. So enough of my nattering. Now let's bring up Catherine Wong. Kat, welcome back to Lifelong Learning with Dee podcast series. How are you doing today?
I am so wonderful. Thank you for having me again. I'm so happy to speak with you again.
Oh, it's great to have you back. So first of all, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, my name is Catherine. Let's start off differently. So, what I have recently discovered, and this is partially related to my activity and what we're going to talk about today. What I do is I connect people to themselves through love so that they can connect to the world with love. And this is important to me because I imagine a world where we're not bound by the rules of society, because our natural state of being is not to feel overwhelmed, not to be doubtful about ourselves, but to be within love and to be our greatest and highest, best self. And I feel like one of the ways that we do this is by connecting to ourselves. And in the ways that I can do this is to help people, empower them. I give them strength. I show them what they're capable of. And I tell them and I allow them to experience what it feels like to be limitless, to not have these walls encapsulated in your mind. And that is one of the reasons why I love being a mindset coach.
Thank you. What a powerful opening. So my first question to you is, could you tell us a bit about this Finding Your Why exercise? What is this about?
Absolutely. And a little bit of heads up, because what happened was I did this exercise with Dee, and actually it didn't go exactly as it was meant to be. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain what it's meant to be. But what came out of it was absolutely magic. So the concept of finding your why originates from the idea of the golden circle. Simon Sinek, he created the idea of the golden circle. And in the context of the way he explains it is that some leaders and organizations, they're able to inspire loyalty and engagement among customers and their employees. And whether we realize it or not, all great and inspiring leaders, they think and they act and they communicate in the same way. And in that sense, it's usually the complete opposite of what everyone else does. Okay? So when we look at an organization, they often start by saying what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. And when you put these things together, it doesn't really clarify why are you different. It doesn't really explain why are you different to another organization. And so in the context of Find Your Why personally, when you do this, it is flipping the whole thing around. It is starting by telling people why you do, what you do, and then how you do it. Because when these three pieces are in balance, it gives them absolute clarity and certainty that they know who you are and they know what you stand for. So coming back to this finding your why, this exercise, okay, it is actually to help you articulate whether it is yourself, your own personal why, or it could also be finding the why of an organization. It's usually what we call it the purpose or the cause or the belief. And what it is, it serves as a really clear and concise statement that explains the contribution that the company or yourself, what you make and how you aim to impact the world. So what it really is, it is just a guiding principle where it helps you to align your behaviors and your core values and your beliefs. It gives you a sense of, a sense of direction, but it also inspires a lot of passion and fulfillment, and it helps to, it's almost like a little a filter for you to be able to make better decisions, because once you have a North Star, you know exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it. And in this specific activity, it was, to break it down, it is to find a partner, and this is what I did. We got a partner, and we accumulate as many stories as possible within our life. What was suggested in the book, you pick the lowest of the lows and you pick the highest of the highs, because they're more likely to have a very emotional, strong impact and imprint in your life. And these are the defining moments that could, I guess you could say, define who you are or who you become or what you believe in. So in this particular activity, we started doing this, but somehow when we were coming together, Dee, which was really fascinating, is that it turned out to be, so the way we did it was I told 5 stories, and what Dee did was write down the common themes, also not only common themes, but I guess are there certain things that are patterns? Are there certain things that seem to repeat? Or are there a repetitive language that I use? And we use all that information and we gather that, and I guess you study it to understand myself better. Because when I do this alone, it's like you're talking to a wall. But when you tell these stories to someone else and you have someone just specifically there to break it down for you, to listen to the themes and commonalities and the patterns, you see that they have made a significant difference in your life. And when you identify the recurring themes and insights, it helps you to really understand yourself more. And that is the reason why you're able to articulate your why. And what was interesting about this is that we kind of went on a tangent, and as we were doing this, we discovered and learned about things about ourselves that we did not plan to.
Yeah.
And what this allowed me to see was that this is a wonderful exercise, not only to get to know somebody, but also to help to bring, I guess, an answer. If there's anything that you want answered in your life that you really want to discover and learn the why, having the opportunity to pick up memories that are so significant to you and have someone listen to it and then break it down for you, it really helps you to understand yourself more, and it almost gives you like a direction of where perhaps the root cause was, but also to bring an alignment to everything because the intention was so deep to understand why. Would you agree, Dee?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I really appreciate that, Kat, you invited me to do this wonderful, amazing exercise. I really enjoyed it. And thanks to you, I had some really interesting new discoveries about myself. So after we explored various themes, the why statement for me is to inspire so that to make a positive impact on this world. And yours is to connect people to themselves through love so that together we can connect to the world with love, which I think is just so beautiful. And in order to make these positive impacts, let's explore some of the themes that have come up in our last long conversation. And let's just go with the flow with it all, shall we? And see what happens. I am so excited, and let's dive straight in. So the first theme that I have in mind is attachment versus detachment. And my question to you is that, what does attachment mean to you? Because for me, attachment comes from our ego and our survival brain, and it could be to do with our material possession, our identities, self-image, other people's opinions, and to a desired outcome. So essentially, it is a product of social conditioning, programming, and it's coming from a place of insecurity and fear. It makes us feel safe and familiar, but is it really? That's another question. So what do you think?
Attachment. I guess in the context of attachment, there are so many, like you've mentioned, for example, attachment as a child is really important. But then you could also talk about attachment in terms of materialistic attachment or even identity societal attachment, such as attachment to your job or to your role. But the thing for me with attachment, it is something, I don't think it's negative nor positive. And I think we all go through different phases of attachments, and whether that is attachment from the biology, such as the need for attachment to feel safe, secure, soothed as a child, or to be in a relationship and have an attachment because we need to connect, we need to bond. But for me, attachment, I've actually, the past few years, because of my experience with relationship, I've really learned to neither detach or attach. And what I mean by that is, of course, there are going to be people, places, or even part of the things that I do that will hold an attachment. But it's very different to holding an attachment with an expectation, or keeping in mind that there is an attachment where it is almost like a hidden contract. And for example, a lot of relationships, people can get attached to each other, and a lot of relationships could end up in a codependent status, which it potentially often talked about negatively, but it also could be like a survival mechanism for many people. And then that is maybe the healthier alternative. But in terms of attachment, in my sense, I've learned to become attached to things that help me grow and evolve, including relationships. Like even if I have relationships and I grow an attachment to someone, I want to ensure that this attachment is helping me to become the person that I desire to be, and not place me into a space where I want to, or just simply just feel unsafe, because I understand how deeply it can become toxic. And there was moments in a relationship that I had last year that I felt like my attachment was getting severely unhealthy. As much as it brought excitement, as much as it brought very new feelings and emotions, there were so many parts of me that came out that made me feel unsafe, that made me question my identity, and it, worst of all, made me doubt myself. So in that sense, I noticed that, and I no longer wanted to hold on to that attachment, because it just made me feel like it wasn't helping me to become the person that I see myself to be. And I feel like a lot of the thoughts that I have was very, very impacted by Eckhart Tolle. This idea of just non-attachment, and I love it, because I ever since I read his books, I love the idea of not putting labels on. And I feel like attachment is almost like putting a label on, even though it may not have a word, but it is a label that you place on something. And once you put a label on something, it becomes not transactional, but there are expectations. And I'm not saying don't have expectations, but once you have these, just that having that level of consciousness of knowing how it impacts you. So that is, I guess, my overall thought and meaning. I don't know if I've just totally went on a tangent.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And when you mentioned about this label thing, and I think that because of the expectation that we have, it can create this kind of burden or pressure on both ourselves and people around you. And when you talk about this flow state, so when somebody's in flow, feeling peaceful, without any expectation about other people or certain outcomes, that kind of vibration or frequency attracts a similar level of frequency, and the energy around you is very pure and clear, and other people can sense that without themselves knowing consciously. But when you're in a state of codependency, and this is where all the insecurities and fear is coming from, and at the end of the day, it's all in our mind, isn't it? And talking about relationships, for me, it is about reaching the balance between attachment and detachment, which can be very difficult because life itself is a journey, and we're here to learn and experience life as it is, and nobody's perfect. And for me, if attachment means to have these expectations and to seek external validation and approval from other people, especially those who are close to us and who we truly care about. On the other hand, detachment means to see things from a higher perspective or see the bigger picture, i.e., even if you have experienced something quite negative, it is a lesson learned which helps your soul to grow. And another thing which I will probably go off tangent is that, as you know, I have a very strong interest in past lives. So in my opinion, most of the relationships that we have in this current life, let's say all the world is a stage and life is a game, and we just play along with it. We have the main cast of characters in our lives, like children, parents, grandparents, husbands and wives, close friends, and all these people who are playing these main roles this lifetime. Most of them were also in other lives of ours, except that they may play different roles each time. So there are karmic links between different souls, and some may be stronger than the others. And in a way, I do feel like I am responsible for certain people, because there may be some karmic debts which I need to repay to them, or vice versa. So in your view, how do we find a balance in these sorts of relationships? And how can we let go of certain karmic links?
Well, first of all, what comes to mind for me is, well, let me ask you a question, because this will really define the answer. For you personally, what does the term, or even just in your vocabulary, in your meaning, in your definition of karmic link, your personal, not from the Google, like your personal experience and feelings and emotions connected to the word karmic link?
So I'm going to use another phrase as an alternative, which is energy entanglement, because everything's energy, people, items, a tree, a cup of tea, everything. So let's say in one of somebody's lifetime, a woman played the role of another person's mother. And in this lifetime, 200 years later, these two people have become siblings, brother and sister. So even that the roles have changed, this bond has continued in the sense that this brother still feels like a mother to that sister, or vice versa, if that makes sense. And these two souls recognize each other in this lifetime, even without knowing that, even consciously, without knowing that the man's sister was his daughter in another lifetime. And because these two people's energies got so entangled from their past lives, this entanglement has carried on to this lifetime, except that the roles have changed, but the nature of the relationship has somehow been quite similar. And they still stay in the same family, so even that this time they play the roles of brother and sister, it may still feel like mother and daughter, i.e. one person could feel a bit more responsible for another person in terms of emotionally taking care of the other person. So what I'm trying to say is this mother and daughter relationship has carried on to this lifetime, even that the roles have changed to brother and sister. And that's my definition of karmic link and energy entanglement.
So going back to your question, I guess it's almost like already this lifetime, it is complicated, okay? Just living this lifetime, there are so many things, relationships that we have to deal with. And now you're bringing back on lifetimes upon lifetimes upon lifetimes.
But they are related, Kat, sorry to interrupt you. And because all the main cast characters are likely to come from the same group of souls. So in one lifetime, one of your soul families played, let's say, your brother. And in another lifetime, you and that soul agreed, your soul and that soul agreed that you're going to be best friends. And because we just got so entangled in each other's energy fields, anyway, that's just my personal view.
Absolutely, and I believe in the mystical. I personally I haven't had strong, like you mentioned, karmic links. The only one that I could ever think of would be my ex-husband, because I do believe there is some sort of karmic link there. But at the same time, I don't have enough experience to say that it is, and nor have I had any experiences with past lifetimes. But I can understand that with the complexity of all these emotions, especially, it's almost like a spider web. It's like this person was that person was this, and you were different genders, different, you could have even be a whole different being. You don't all have to be humans. So the complexity of it already itself, just to understand the concept of it, it is already complicated. And of course, and I think when something is so complex, the mind loves to find meaning and it finds answers. That is what we're wired to do. We're wired to find meaning and answers and close things off. And I think what's interesting about what you keep saying, because we have these conversations all the time, there is no real answer. And I find that that is what's most trippy about this discussion. There is no way we can find out. And so, in a sense, you're really relying on your own memory, your own experiences, And yes, perhaps maybe the help of psychics or the helps of people who can heal or bring out these energies or experiences or even remove them. But in the end of the day, I still feel the core emotions and core feelings and the core experience you're going to have and the meaning you put around it is what you believe in and what you put meaning to. And so you said very strongly that there are these attachments. The word you used was quite heavy, these attachments. And attachments, you are clearly defining that these relationships have an interconnection and they also seem to have meaning behind them. And in terms of detachment, and I think this would relate to any sort of relationship in the 3D, in the past, or whatever it is. And what I've learned over the years is that sometimes there are things or people that come into our life and they're here to allow us to either repeat an experience or for us to repress the experience or for us to repair the experience. And I feel like detachment something doesn't just detach just because you're like, I'm going to ignore it, I'm not going to feel it, I'm not going to numb it, I'm not going to, like, people can say that, I'm going to detach from a person, for example, by blocking them. But simply blocking them is just a protective behavior so that you don't feel those impermissible feelings of missing them or hating them or feeling frustrated. But in a sense, you're still attached. So I guess in a way, for me, when I think of detachment is, if you're asking yourself in this relationship, are you repeating an experience? Are you repressing an experience? Or are you here to repair this experience? And whether that experience comes from your past life or your current life, for example, maybe you experienced a heartbreak where someone cheated on you. Are you coming into a relationship detached from that past one? Because if you haven't detached, you're going to go into the next one attached with the idea that he's going to cheat on you again. So I think it is an opportunity for you, if that is something that your mind or your experience would allow you, is perhaps to find the balance. And if there are answers that you cannot find, it is to really just break it down to, do I want to repeat this experience? And that could be connecting with loved ones. It doesn't have to be, getting with the same person, but in a different pair of pants. But as in, do you want to repeat experiences in your life? Are there some things that maybe you can come to an awareness of, what are you repressing? Because there are some experiences in our life that make us freeze or make us fawn, because it brings back memories or even past life memories of who we once were at a certain age. And if that memory is making you repress something, if you're ready for it, understand and learn what that is, because maybe that's an opportunity for both of these to repair itself. And I think having that repair, it gives us closure, especially in your case where you don't have the ability to exactly go back and be your past life and ask questions. It is really to repair the relationships and understand them deeply for what they are, so that you can find that balance and, if need be, to let them go. Because sometimes, especially if you hold meaning to that, it is, what do you call it, when you have to repay them, like you said, you're holding this attachment and you're holding this label and you're holding this identity that now you have this deep responsibility for this person. And in a sense, that is making your attachment stronger. And it could be a positive thing, but it also could be a negative thing. Because in the end of the day, are you asking yourself, is this relationship, is this, whether it is experience relationship or this, whatever it is that you're experiencing, is it helping you to grow and just become the person that you desire to be? Because let's just say that, for example, somebody else, if they have realized they have this karmic link, and 10 years into the relationship, they realize that, oh my gosh, I don't love this person anymore in this lifetime. But if you hold the attachment that I must continue this relationship because I need to repay my debt, having that belief and having that identification and that label, it really holds you back. So having that balance, and that's what I would just invite you to consider, that balance between when you're discovering these stories and these experiences from your past life and bringing them into your current life. That is the only thing that comes to mind for me.
Yeah. I mean, I love what you said about this, not to suppress emotions and feelings, because that's where you're not truly let it go. So it's like in one of my previous relationship, I got cheated on. So at the time, I blocked that person, and but in hindsight, I think at the time, emotionally, even that I blocked that person on social media doesn't really mean that I have truly let it go. But then after a few months, it didn't really take that long, but after a few months, when I truly realized that, oh, he's actually not that important, and I was here to learn this lesson, so as not to be, not to let this happen to me again. This was when I truly kind of let go. And even like now, like I never spoke to that person ever. It's been years, right? It doesn't really matter to me to either to make amends or, can we actually be friends? It doesn't bother me at all, because it's just a lesson, learned, and that person was here to serve a purpose, to play that role, to play the role of the bad guy, to teach me something, which was probably to do with my past life, which was like an unlearned lesson, which was carried over to this lifetime. And what else I liked about what you said was that you talked about this repeat and repair, which then reminded me of breaking the cycles and not to repeat the same patterns over and over again. And I just like to add one more word, which is to release, which is the same as letting go, really. And when you are emotionally and at the spiritual level truly ready to release these energy, these emotions, and this is when you're truly ready to let it go, to detach. So I'm going to end it here, just because there's going to be another part of this conversation which I shall be publishing very soon. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed it, and we shall speak to you very soon. Bye for now.